I'm always looking for simple, easy, inexpensive ways to expand my garden and make it look good in the process. And this is one of those projects. Hi, I'm Gardener Scott, and I discuss everything gardening so that you can become a better gardener. Today, let me show you step by step how I made this garden border using tree branches. I really like how this new garden section is developing, and I'm adding lots of different visual components. I have a wooden raised bed, I have some metal raised beds, I have ceramic pots, I'm growing some plants in the ground, and I've just added this nice rustic edge to this entire area. I think it really helps add an accent visually, and of course it serves a purpose to separate the bed from the pathway. And the best thing about this wooden border, this edging, is that it didn't cost anything. I used branches from trees that I already had in my landscape, and then I just cut them to add some character to my garden. It will take more wood, more branches than you probably anticipate. Each of these pieces range from about 6 inches to 12 inches in length, but the width is only about 2 to 5 inches. So I may have a piece that's 12 inches long, but because I'm putting them vertically, it may only fill 2 inches of space. That means to fill 6 inches of this particular border, I'm going to need 3 of those 2-inch wide pieces. And if they're all 8 to 12 inches long, well, that's a pretty good sized branch that I'm going to have to cut down. And as you can see with all of these pieces, there are a lot of cuts involved. So the first thing I did was to gather my wood and then gather my chop saw and start cutting them into relatively standardized pieces. I do suggest you use electric or gas equipment if you're going to do a project like this. Yes, you could saw all of the wood by hand, but you'd get very tired and it would take a long time. One of the things I prefer to do is when I'm cutting a branch off the tree, I'll go ahead and use my chainsaw to cut most of the pieces to an appropriate length if I'm planning a project like this. I didn't have that plan ahead of time, so instead I took some of the longer pieces and then cut them shorter. I think cutting the wood is the hardest and most time-consuming aspect of this project. But then you want to put them in the ground vertically. And to do that, you want to dig a trench. Now the trench should be about 4 to 6 inches deep. And just dig it all the way around the bed that you want to surround. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be level. You're just developing a foundation spot for where you're going to put these individual cut pieces. I lay these pieces in the trench using a freestyle method, nothing determined ahead of time. Now, I will lay out the individual pieces so that they're ready to go, but I'll just grab one, put it in the trench, and then put some soil around it to anchor it. Then I grab another one, put it side by side, put a little soil to anchor it. I'll pat it down just to firm the base, but I'm just working my way down the line of the trench. Periodically, I'll take a tape measure to make sure that I'm maintaining a consistent distance. And in the case of this border, it's 21 inches from the back of this bed. And then I just continue that process, adding one piece at a time and moving my way down the trench. You can see that I have staggered the height of all these individual logs. You have complete control over this. I consider this a little bit of the artistic aspect of it. You can put your logs into the trench so that all of the tops match up. Notice that I also have different size pieces and actually different types of wood side by side. I think that adds a decorative component. With all these pieces in place, then I'll just come through and just using my foot, I'll firm the soil in front to help stabilize the anchoring of these pieces. Now, most of these have about a quarter, maybe a third of their length buried. Occasionally, I'll choose a longer piece and bury half of it to just add some stability to this line. But the soil on the back side and whatever the path material will be on the front side will really help to anchor all of this in place, and it really becomes quite stable and quite sturdy. I find that a project like this works best to do before the bed is fully finished. So once I have this edge done, then I'll come back and I'll add some good amended soil on the back side just to finish the bed. And with the soil in place, then the next step becomes mulching. So I'll just take some good organic mulch and lay it on top of the soil on the back side of this edge. Water it in well so that the soil settles and then begins to fill in some of the gaps between the individual pieces. And that makes it even more stable. And then it's ready to plant. Now, I did have my pots and my plants in the ground first. So you could do this as you're preparing a new bed and then sow your seeds or transplant what you're going to put in it. And it's going to last for years. I think it looks great. If you want to change any aspect about it, or if any of these pieces start to break down or get knocked loose at any time, you can just take some new wood, put it in, and you've refreshed the entire edging. It's quite simple. It's a project I think you should consider to add that little bit of visual appeal to a corner of your garden. And if you've got any questions, please let me know in the comments below. If you like this project, well, then give me a thumbs up and share it. I'm Gardener Scott. Enjoy gardening.